All right, so a lot of you have still not gotten the picture, but let me show you something, right?
Now, we told you we will bring you this story. I believe it was on Monday. This is, a viral video from right here in Lagos, which is generating fierce debate online. A Banana Island tenant and businesswoman running a beauty company known as Edith's Essential is calling out what she describes as a landlord from hell after her rent was reportedly hiked by over 390%, and her electricity was disconnected for 72 hours when she could not pay immediately. In the video, the woman reveals that she slipped and fell in the dark, injuring her shoulder and lower back after her lights were turned off and had to be rushed to a hospital. Let's take a look.
For my rent to be increased by over 300%, I'm going to add the exact figures, 390-something%. And for that reason, as a tenant, I asked for a staggered payment, which they offered, which they gave, and I actually complied. And because of that, the landlord now wants to evict me again so that he can bring in other people that are going to start paying 50 million or more, or so that he can increase it more than what he has already given me. He has already evicted 4 homes in this building. This is a building of only 6 tenants. They're sending me threatening messages, that the eviction still stands and I should move out. Even if you wanted that to happen, couldn't you have given me light? Would I have sustained injuries because of this wickedness? Now, instead of going to work this morning, I'm spending my day and I have to go for an x-ray.
Well, you know what? Nigerians are flooding her comment section with their own horror stories of arbitrary rent hikes. And this story lands in the context of a Lagos rental market already in crisis, with experts reporting that rents have surged by between 50 and 200% over the past 2 years alone. Banana Island is one of Nigeria's most exclusive addresses, but today it is also the face of a housing crisis. Now, what exactly does Lagos State's rent control law say about situations like this, and why isn't it protecting tenants? As a result, she has now launched the Fair Housing in Nigeria improvement to push for tenants' rights. And I'd like to read what the law says. And this is very important. Under Section 37 of the Lagos State Tenancy Law 2011, a landlord cannot unilaterally increase rent without first consulting the tenant and reaching an agreement. And any tenant who believes a rent hike is unreasonable has the right to apply to court for a declaration that the increase is invalid. So this Banana Island tenant has legal recourse. But here is the problem. The existing 2011 tenancy law has significant enforcement gaps, and cutting off a tenant's electricity is in itself an illegal act of harassment and intimidation under the law. The good news? A Lagos Tenancy and Recovery of Premises Bill presented in May 2026 is currently at the committee stage in the Lagos State House of Assembly, proposing limits on advance rent demands and giving tenants a clearer path to challenge unfair increases. I mean, this is, I had to read this out because a lot of people, don't know their rights and whether or not it is legal for, these landlords to increase their rents without adequate notice. I know you all want to say something because you all live in Lagos. Everybody probably has faced it, but for me, it's the light issue. Why turn off the lights?
That for me resort to a lot of inhumane. I saw one other one where the landlady was even there threatening to throw, waste feces in front of the tenant's shop if she doesn't do as she bids. I'll leave the legal angle to Dr. Mati, but let me come from a point of the fact that we have a lot of laws in Nigeria and also in Lagos States that people just don't enforce. Do you know how many times, this whole don't collect collect more than 1 year rent. Somebody still asked for 2 years rent recently, for one of my friends who was looking for accommodation here in Lagos State. So the fact is that we come out with these great laws, but they are not enforceable or they are not enforced, and people ignore. You come and tell a landlord that don't increase your rent because Lagos, they'll tell you to get out of their face. But we've seen a lot of this, and there are a lot of reasons for this. Number one, we talk about the devaluation of the naira, the cost of living crisis. But I asked the question that some of these landlords are greedy because many of them built their houses donkey years ago and have not done a single upgrade or improvement to the house. So what happens is that if you refuse to pay the rent, they tell you that, okay, they don't want to let the house anymore. They want to do upgrade, or they want to demolish for alternative business purposes, which is a lie. They just want you out of the house.
Yes.
I don't know how the Lagos state government is going to fix this, but one way they can fix is actually to provide a cheaper alternative. We've talked about mass housing projects. Where is that? Where are we with that? If you don't provide an affordable housing alternative, then you leave the field for landlords who have put in fairness to them, their private investments, and can choose to do whatever they want to do because the people are not protected.
All right.
So how can you ensure that the state government will enforce the law when they also violate the tenement rate law of who to collect? There's a constitutional, imbroglio there, where the local governments are supposed to be the ones to collect the tenement rate law, but it's the state government that is collecting. So how do you expect them that are also breaking the law, but they will say it's not intentional, it's because of the way it's structured? How would you expect them to be able to, seek redress on the law? So it's a country of lawbreakers. Everybody's breaking the law. But that's very bad. But we don't know what has transpired because it's one side we've heard. We've not heard the landlord side. So we need to be careful.
Okay, Lagos State. There is the Lagos Tenancy Law, I think 2011. Then it was revised in 2015. There was also a further amendment in 2024, which is the extant law, to protect the interests of tenants. But you see, tenancy, landlord-tenant relationship is a willing buyer, willing seller market. In this particular woman's issue, the landlord is saying, leave my house.
Yes.
I don't want you in my house anymore.
Yes.
So, and you impose a tenant on a landlord. So, the tenancy law is likely to be a dead law. There are dead laws because the true test of a law is in its implementation. She can go to the media, she can mobilize people. At the end of the day, if the landlord says, I don't want you in my house, you will have to leave his house.
This is it. I mean, that's the question.
It's a landlord's market. So, but what I don't agree to is the violent part of it.
Right. The turning off the lights and
the woman
falling down. Yes.
No, this landlord that has turned off the light. Some landlords will come and remove the roof.
Come on.
Some will stop water supply.
Yes. Those are the questions.
It's a very delicate thing, in terms of enforcement and implementation of the law.
All right. I thought
but must she live in Banana Island?
There are so many other places that she had some comments.
Must she live in
She said something about her mom. She said something about her child. But you're right. She doesn't have to live in Banana Island. She can find. There's Ketu. There's Mushi. But unfortunately, Mushi there's bombing. Look, she can't go to Mushi. She can't get to Ketu, Lekki. But those are the questions. So, like we've said, all right, it is. But like we've said, we've just heard her side of the story. We're hoping to hear from the other side of the story if we hear it. But of course, there are lessons. There are lessons to be learned. Yes,
that's beside the point.
Besides the point. That's what. And he's an MD of a bank. All right. Well, all right. Good information out there. I hope we get to hear the end of the story.